Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Stephen Pope, founder and CEO of My Amazon Guy, one of the leading Amazon marketing agencies in the world. Stephen's journey is anything but typical, starting out as a TV reporter before transitioning into e-commerce. He eventually built My Amazon Guy from the basement into a multi-million-dollar agency with hundreds of employees and clients globally. Today, his company helps brands scale their practice on Amazon through a combination of SEO, advertising, and full-service account management, while also educating thousands of sellers through content, courses, and coaching. Stephen, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks, Olivia. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Stephen, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly take me back to what it was you was doing before you started up My Amazon Guy, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Well, I had worked for a bunch of failed startups, and I had seen what happens to these companies that I join. I make them millions of dollars. Something else in the company goes wrong. Company goes under. I get laid off. Sometimes I get severance, and it would just snowball from there. But what happened was every company I worked at, I would continue to get additional invites to the next thing, and I would get recruited from past employers to continue working on their Amazon projects, and so. Well, I saw a massive demand for Amazon skills, and I think that there's still a deficit on that question today. But I went out to fulfill that need, and along the way, created a lot of content. And I've basically become the Wikipedia about how to sell on Amazon, and a few hundred clients pay me for the pleasure of managing their account along the way.
Love it. So very much dove into Amazon. And yeah, I think there is definitely I think a lot of people misconceived of how to obviously sell on Amazon, and there is a huge gap there of educating people along the way. And naturally, as you move through your journey, did you always have an ambition that you'd be an entrepreneur, or was it just when you found that right fit for you, you was ready to jump in and take the plunge in business?
Yeah, so I thought that I was going to do one of two things in life. I thought I was either going to be an entrepreneur or I was going to be on a CMO track. And so I had spent 10 years working the corporate track trying to go CMO route. However,
Hmm.
as a child, in high school, I was doing the candle fundraisers for the choir trips and being number one at that in the school. By the way, the secret hack to any fundraiser ever is do it day one, beat everybody to ask for the money. And I learned that at 16. And I was selling chess sets, teaching chess lessons in 50 elementary schools in the state of Utah. And I learned very quickly like how to run a business. But I wish I had started My Amazon Guy 10 years earlier and skipped the corporate track bullshit, right? Like it was such a waste of time in many ways. I did learn a lot. I did learn how not to run a company. I did learn to not open a $5 million warehouse across the world, right? I learned all these giant mistakes that companies make. And what's interesting is that I started as a consultant when I started out my agency, and I wasn't trying to become an agency. That's why I called it My Amazon Guy, right? Like
Hmm.
that wasn't like really a lot of foresight in that name choice. However, why I chose that name is because that's how everybody introduced me. They didn't introduce and say talk to Stephen Pope. They said just talk to My Amazon Guy. And I'm like, frick, well, that's the brand. And I couldn't resist it. And that's what I ended up doing. And it's worked out for me, a little bit of a coattail on the Amazon name, but also just the fact that I'm a guy, right? And now I've got 420 employees, and but I've got 2,500 videos on YouTube about how to sell on Amazon, and I've answered every Amazon question ever. And new questions come up every week, so it's a never-ending trail of thought.
I love that. And as you say, it is a never-ending trail of thought and things will always arise. But to be known as my Amazon guy is a pretty cool aspect. As you say, it just kind of comes with that nuance and it comes with the respect that you need as well, which is a pretty cool. So let's dive into the agency a little bit more then, Stephen, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So naturally, with my Amazon guy, at this point in, who would you say is your like ideal client? Like who is it you really, really love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them? And how do you support them along their own journey?
Yeah, so brands that do well on Amazon typically they're really good at operations. They're really good at understanding how to move products from point A to point B. Maybe they're good at sourcing, but they fall short on the marketing aspect. And so
Mm.
I come in and I help generate traffic and improve conversion rates. And anything that generates traffic includes SEO and PPC and CTR. This is the most underrated hack ever. Fastest way to grow sales on Amazon is CTR, click through rate. And then also conversion improvements. And we look at design elements, merchandising, that sort of thing, and all the things that you build a catalog with. So typically a $1 million brand on Amazon where you've private labeled and you're trying to level up and try and become a $5 million brand, we can add the most value to that kind of brand.
Love it. And as you say, it's all that kind of operation in the back end, more about the visibility and how you're getting those clicks and moving it on from there. What do you say is like the first big issue, I suppose, or challenge that people tend to reach out to you with when they're on Amazon?
Yeah, people are really frustrated with Amazon. They're frustrated that it's a shoot first, ask questions later culture. They don't care about sellers. Seller support is a joke.
Yeah.
A lot of people speak very negatively about Jeff Bezos, now Andy Jassy, and there's just a lot of frustration that the purpose of selling on Amazon has been lost, and it's become a high fee venture with lots of Chinese sellers coming in and hijacking the system, hijacking the listings. Accounts get suspended, listings go down. So sellers are really frustrated that there's just not a lot of support or help. So usually they come to me with a problem, and then after we solve that problem, trust is built, and then we start working on how to grow the account and structurally get ahead of the challenges so that we're not just being a reactive
Yeah.
seller on the platform, reactive brand. So those are the challenges that typically happen. But it's at the end of the day, the fastest way to grow sales on Amazon is to increase traffic and usually
Mhm.
through click-through rate.
Love it. And so then what is it like to work within? How is it you kind of get that click through rate up there and engineer more traffic for those clients?
Yeah, pretty standard monthly arrangement where we're consulting for a brand, and we have a team of 8 people that we assign an account, everything from an account manager to a PPC specialist, SEO specialist, designer, project manager, and some back office workers that we call Amazon specialists. And so each month we're meeting with the client 2 to 3 times. We're updating them on, here's what's happened, here's what we're going to do. What would you like to see? Okay, is that what you wanted? Double checking deliverables, all those standard things you would see at a run of the mill agency. But what we really try and focus on is growing the account and pulling the levers that aren't just visible, but the actual levers that move the needle. And a lot of times those are unspoken levers of running a brand on Amazon. And so there's a lot of things that can go wrong and do go wrong while selling on Amazon. But there's
Yeah.
a very few things that if you just selectively focus on, things will go well.
Awesome stuff. I love that a lot. And I think there is a lot of nuances when it does come to Amazon. As you're saying, like, I'm no specialist. I don't really know what the platform entails. But as you say, if you're getting yourself to the top and those clicks are coming in, naturally it's moving forward from there. One thing I'm very curious to find out though is how you go about acquiring your customers. It's a very busy world at the moment. E-commerce is one of those top trends. It's very much pushing through. So, like, what is working well for you in terms of channels or methods in just finding those right people to work with?
So creating content has been the key to my success in generating millions of dollars through answering customer questions. It's really simple. Customer asks me a question, I shoot a video. No matter how trivial the question is, no matter how fringe it might sound, what I have experienced, what I have found, the video that gets 100 views on YouTube will produce 3 clients. The video that gets 10,000 views on YouTube will produce nothing. And in our niche specifically. And so I have found that if we just give customers what they're seeking and then verify, did you get what you were looking for? And continue doing that, start doing things they look for, do more of the things they look for, stop doing things they don't want or didn't
Yeah.
like. And that's the key to success for acquiring clients. Some agencies only get referrals. For me, it's all content based.
Love it. And is it like, so as you say, just very knowledge based as well on that content, making sure you're feeding them with information, the questions they're asking and looking for before they've even hopped on a call with you, which is pretty awesome. And
Yeah,
do
so try
you,
before you buy.
yeah, exactly that. And do you very much, is it very organic on your output or do you run in form of ads and everything just to maybe bring a little more consistent traffic to yourself?
I don't need to run ads at this stage. We've become really the expertise in the space.
Mhm.
A lot of my competitors basically just rip or duplicate my process. And by the way, I'm okay with that. It's all of us
Nice.
against Amazon.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of benefits to doing it this way. Yeah, I'll lose a couple clients
So,
here and
yeah.
there, or there'll be a poach situation. But by and large, I believe that the world levels up together. It's not a
Yeah.
zero-sum game, and their staff will see my content go in their Slack channels, and eventually they'll be like, "Well, why am I working here if I'm getting trained by this other dude? I'm gonna go work for my Amazon guy," and that happens all the time. And then we also see the clients, you know, hey, we see your content constantly, and we never see anything from our current provider, and I'm learning more from you than they're telling me, so I'm gonna go, join your bandwagon. So I think that strategy has been very solvent for me. I also have a very big education internal model, so we take interns and we turn them into directors over time.
Mm.
I took a trip down to Mexico with an intern and a brand manager, and lo and behold, those two guys 4 years later at my company are now high level senior directors and vice president of brand management. So I invest in people, and I like to. I don't like hiring externally. Like I really like, okay, here's my intern model. You guys come to me. We teach you. We'll prep you and then grow you up internally. And that model cannot be reproduced by my competition.
Yeah, I love that. And it's as you say, with a homegrown model as well, you have such alignment within your team and such trust and built on both sides.
Culture.
It's a really great model coming through. And when it comes to content creation, do you have a preferred platform at the moment? Like I know kind of YouTube is very much having its moment with the long form content, but is there somewhere you like to maybe sit on most of the time?
So YouTube is where I'm making the money. LinkedIn is where I have the fun.
Oh,
I
okay.
think, yeah, I think shit posting on LinkedIn is like super fun. And if there was any job out there in the world that I'd rather have than the one I currently have, it'd be CEO of Dude Wipes, because then I could shit post professionally. But in the meantime, I just like to mess and troll and play with the system on LinkedIn and have a good time, and it's done well for me so far.
I love that. I love that a lot. So we're not just the Amazon guy, we're the dog out LinkedIn guy, which is pretty cool. And I
Yeah.
suppose like we are at the start of 2026. So what are your visions or your ambitions for the company moving forward when you think of maybe the next 6 to 12 months? Like what are the goals or your targets you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, we're about to go into an AI singularity here in the next 2 years, and what that means is that we can't predict what society is going to look like after the singularity. And so I've been really like trying to hit my head against the wall. I'm like, okay, how do I make sure my company survives? Because for me, it's not just about surviving in 2 or 5 years. I want to survive 1,000 years. I want to create a company that outlives Amazon. And so I came to the conclusion that we're going to have to really engage in the AI world. And I'd resisted this for a very long time. I think AI is overhyped. I think it's overrated. I think people talk about it too much. It's like teenage sex. Everybody thinks everybody else is doing it. Maybe they are, but they're probably not. And if they are, they're not doing it very well. Right. And so, like, I just structurally have a problem with how AI has come into existence. Having said that, it's inevitable. So, in the last month, I've really sat down and I've decided, like, okay, I'm going to have to start creating products using AI and try and figure out how to spin that as a service. And I decided I would be an agency for AI production. And so we're gonna slowly evolve over the next couple of years, going into that AI singularity. And I just spun up confidential.law, confidential with a K, and we're gonna do everything we do for Amazon sellers, but now for lawyers, and solve all of their problems. And then we're gonna do the same thing in three other verticals, whether it's doctors, whether it's this or that, it doesn't matter. And that service providing through that technology delivery is now possible because of AI's code development and Claude and all those other good things. So I have a very long view on what I want to do next. But until now and the AI singularity, it's really stressful.
I can imagine. And I don't even suppose you go into where to start. I love the analogy you used, by the way, for AI, because my personal opinion is very much the same, especially when they are leaning on it for the wrong kind of reasons or for everything in their life, and then they expect it to change the whole world. But so very much leaning into that and taking it from there. Where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself, though, in taking those next steps, or even within the current business?
So ideas are a dime a dozen now, and it's all about the execution. And so figuring out how to get the right people to execute the right thing at the right time, and then also measure that against market conditions. So it can be challenging to find alignment on those questions.
Yeah, 100%. And Stephen, I have one final question to ask you before we log out for the day. So, if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Never take a partner. and always invest and do it myself and do it fast, right? So I know that's a little bit more than one thing, but essentially that smorgasbord of just go all in, burn the ships, forget the corporate track, forget using anybody else, just do it yourself. And I really think I would have been even more successful. And this is counterintuitive to the advice we usually hear from other business leaders where they say go together, do it with other people, take a partner. And I really think all of that was terrible advice for a young Stephen Pope.
Fair enough. I like it a lot. And Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yeah, so youtube.com/myamazonguy, best place to find content, or Stephen Pope over on LinkedIn. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to go and check out Stephen Pope on LinkedIn, as he just said, or drop him a message. Check out YouTube, My Amazon Guy. I'm sure he would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.